pick and choose what's possible to speak within the limits of an hour. Prabhupada Mahima, the greatness of Srila Prabhupada. We should appreciate our immense good fortune to be connected with a devotee who did unprecedented preaching service in the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the history of the world, in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Ramanujacharya never left India. Madhacharya never left India. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gorkishore Das Babaji, never left India. What to speak of traveling around the world? Srila Prabhupada circled the world 13 times, and wherever he went, people became devotees. Sometimes just by seeing Srila Prabhupada. There's a story of Srila Prabhupada arriving in the airport in Los Angeles. In those days, there was no big security. You could go right to the gate where people would exit from the plane. So 100 devotees are standing around, big festival, big kirtan, flowers flying. Prabhupada walks out. Everyone offers obeisances. Dandavat pranam. Devotees getting up from offering obeisance to Srila Prabhupada. And he turns around, looks behind him, and he sees two businessmen with briefcases, three-piece suit, patent leather shoes, nice hair. And they're both crying, just seeing Srila Prabhupada. That was the power of Srila Prabhupada. Just by seeing him, people will become Krishna conscious. Once a janitor, janitor in the airport was, he's sweeping, a simple man, African-American guy. And he sees Prabhupada and he goes, that man's a glowing. That man's a glowing. In other words, he's saying that person is glowing because Srila Prabhupada had an effulgence about him. An unmistakable effulgence. People would be respectful just by seeing him. Some people would become devotees just by seeing him. That was the power of his personal presence. And Srila Prabhupada, we say he walked amongst us, but he didn't actually walk. There's a story of devotees in Melbourne, Australia. Srila Prabhupada had a habit of going out every morning for morning walk. So the devotees all went with Srila Prabhupada for a morning walk to a local park. And as they're walking, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, my godbrother Sahadev Prabhu, who is no more, he just left last year here in Mayapur, surrounded by devotees doing kirtan, with Lord Nishingadev's garland around his neck, Ganga Jal in his mouth, Tulsi in his mouth, Shalagram on his chest, a very auspicious departure. So he told this story. They made a plan. Srila Prabhupada's going on morning walk, and he took a little plastic baggie. His plan was to collect the dust from Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. Where Srila Prabhupada walked, I'll collect that dust. So he's following right behind Srila Prabhupada, and they're walking across a newly cultivated area in the park. And Madhavesha Maharaj is leaving footprints on the freshly cultivated dirt. Balaram Prabhu, the temple president, is leaving footprints. Srila Prabhupada walks across and no footprints. Sahadev's quite surprised. He gets down on his hands and knees, looks at the dirt, and there's no footprints. His plan was foiled, thinking to get some dirt from where Srila Prabhupada walked. He didn't even leave footprint. Srila Prabhupada would sometimes contradict the laws of material nature. Another time here in Mayapur, in the early days of ISKCON, this Leela appears in Guru Das's book, my godbrother Guru Das Prabhu's book. He wanted to speak to Srila Prabhupada, so he was waiting outside Srila Prabhupada's room, hoping that Srila Prabhupada would come out. And sure enough, because Prabhupada many times exhibited omniscience, how he could understand exactly what his disciple was thinking or feeling. So Srila Prabhupada came out, and Guru Das and Srila Prabhupada began to chat as he looked out over the verdant Mayapur rice fields. And Guru Das was explaining to Srila Prabhupada that there's actually a great difficulty for all the Mayapur Dhamvasis because they depend on agriculture for their maintenance, for their livelihood. And the drought was going on for many, many weeks on end, no rain, not a drop of rain, and all the crops were failing, which put the Dhamvasi agriculturalists, the farmers, in tremendous anxiety how to live. Not only can they not eat, but they don't have anything to sell. So Srila Prabhupada was listening to Guru Das explain this, and then with a wave of his hand, he said, "All right, then let it rain." An hour later, the clouds gathered and torrents of rain fell on the ground by Prabhupada's will. He said, "Let it rain," and it rained. So this is a extraordinary personality that we are blessed to be connected with. He is the greatest thing that's happened in human society for thousands of years because he, practically speaking, changed the course of human history. I want to read one nice story that was narrated by, I'm forgetting her name. Anyway, she's a famous Kirtaniya, Janavi Harrison, who is narrating a story as it was told to her by my esteemed godbrother, Bibi, His Holiness Bibi Govinda Maharaj. So he met Srila Prabhupada's beloved godbrother, Srila Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada had a very animosity-laden relationship with some of his godbrothers, and exact opposite also. He had godbrothers that would simply die for him, loved him more than their own self. And Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji is one of those devotees. So Bibi Govinda Maharaj happened to meet Srila Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. And as soon as he saw him, he offered obeisances, and he had a tape recorder. And when Babaji Maharaj saw that he had a tape recorder, he began singing beautiful bhajan. He sang for 10, 15 minutes, then he stopped and said, "I want to tell you something." He said, "In history, there was never a greater servant of Sri Krishna's holy name than your spiritual master, because your spiritual master has so much absolute understanding of Sri Krishna's holy name and so much absolute faith in Sri Krishna's holy name that he personally carried Sri Krishna's holy name through the length and breadth of the world. Therefore, he is the greatest acharya who has ever existed." Take note, who is speaking? A disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And his disciple is saying our Prabhupada was the greatest acharya who has ever existed. Why? Because he introduced the chanting of the holy name all over the world. Think for a moment. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, someone somewhere is chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Somewhere Mangal Arati is going on, somewhere Rajbhog Arati, Sandhya Arati, Tulsi Puja, Guru Puja, Kirtan on the street. It's going on all over the planet. Prabhupada took the holy name of Krishna and garlanded the whole planet with the holy name of Krishna. This is extraordinary thing. Why does anyone know anything about Krishna outside of India? Only because of Srila Prabhupada. In the same way, 24 hours a day, 307 days a week, 365 days a year, someone is getting prasadam from the hand of an ISKCON devotee. So practically speaking, the sun never sets on ISKCON. The British, the British used to say the sun never sets on the British Empire. But what is the British Empire today? And what is the ISKCON empire that Srila Prabhupada created by his selfless service and by the purity of his heart? We say, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne. This is the formula that spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Saraswati Devi means Srila Prabhupada wrote his own pranam mantra. Saraswati Devi means that he identified himself as a servant of his guru, number one. Number two, Gauravani Pracharani, that he preached the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, unadulterated. He presented it as it is. He presented his Bhagavad Gita as it is. He could have called it Bhaktivedanta Swami's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, because that's what it is. It's Prabhupada's commentary in Bhagavad Gita, but it's Bhagavad Gita as it is, as he received it through his guru, from Guru Parampara. And this is the power. This is how the power of Lord Chaitanya's mission manifests itself by these two things: absolute devotion to one's guru and presenting the message of the Sampradaya as it is. And that power is available, take note, to each and every one of you. This is the power of Sampradaya. As it came to Prabhupada, as it came to Prabhupada's disciples who also spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, that same power comes to each and every one of you. This is the power of Sampradaya. So there's never been a greater Acharya than Srila Prabhupada because he garlanded the entire world with the holy name of Krishna. How, if he hadn't done that, consider what the world would be like. Such a frightful idea. If you look up Krishna in the internet, then what would you get? Oh, the eighth incarnation of Vishnu. There'd be no Rath Yatras, there'd be no Gurukulas, there'd be no book distribution. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Itihasa be unknown outside of India. 600 million books never would have been distributed in 85 languages. There wouldn't be 800 temples and Bhakti Vriksha temples all over the world. The list goes, no farm communities, no Govinda restaurants, no art, no drama, no kirtan in yoga centers. All of this is the result of Srila Prabhupada's preaching. See, he's the greatest Acharya. So in the Vedic literature, there is one verse that is said to be the essence of all Vedic literature. If it were possible to go through all the Vedas, which is not for a human being, to assimilate all the knowledge compiled in our Vedic literature, but the essence of all of that, the distilled essence of all of that is in one verse. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru tasyaiti katita hyarta prakashante mahatmana. That all the purports of the Vedas, the essential knowledge of all the Vedas, prakashante, is manifest to that person who has absolute faith in the holy name, in Krishna, and in the spiritual master. So we should count ourselves so fortunate to understand the glories of this personality, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, and measure his greatness, not by sentiment, but by history, by fact, by objective consideration of his accomplishments. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Krishna Shakti, Krishna Shakti, what is that? Krishna? Tar Pravartana. That one can't spread Krishna consciousness unless he's empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So try and grasp the degree to which Srila Prabhupada was empowered to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Try to grasp how dear he is to Srila Prabhupada. We read in Bhagavad Gita, Anya Priyataro Bhuvi, that who is that person who's very, very dear to me? That person who's preaching Krishna consciousness. He's Ativa Labhasya, Priya Eva Tatsya, Krishna Preshta. Very, very dear to the Lord. And on the strength of that intimate relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, Srila Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And there'll never be another Prabhupada. We should take note of that, because what he accomplished can't be done again. It's Krishna consciousness has already been spread all over the world. The Africans are chanting, the Chinese are chanting, the Americans are chanting, the Europeans, the Australians, the Central Asians, the East Asians, all over India. Why are people chanting Hare Krishna? Only because of Prabhupada. Nobody else. Nobody else. There are people that have followed after Prabhupada in his footsteps. We acknowledge their greatness also. All my godbrothers who are traveling and preaching Krishna consciousness, and my god sisters also traveling, preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. Many great devotees are doing the same thing, but Prabhupada was the first. He broke open the storehouse of love of God and distributed it all over the world. Once an envious godbrother, because Prabhupada did have envious godbrothers also, he said, if Mahaprabhu wanted the holy name to be spread all over the world to every town and village, why didn't he do it himself? Srila Prabhupada, who never missed a beat, said, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left it for me to do. And this is just the history. This is the history of Srila Prabhupada's preaching campaign. So we can't imagine what would the world be without Prabhupada. No Bhaktivedanta Institute, no deity worship, no Gimdas restaurants. Vegetarianism would be practically unknown esoteric practice. Millions of people never would have received prasadam. Many people would have starved without the mercy of devotees distributing prasadam. There'd be no Hare Krishna festivals, no Rath Yatra, no street Harinam, no Gurukulas, and these amazing children that are coming to our families, these Vaikuntha children that have come to our families would have to be born in some other planet where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is going on. So we should speak some more, some Leela. I have a list here. Just the Leela is a 1.5 hour class, so I'll speak some things. Hopefully, Leela said I didn't speak before. We had this class before. So Leela. Srila Prabhupada was very, very merciful, understanding, and willing to accept devotional service from anyone. That was his kindness. Imagine what he must have experienced coming to America, trying to even get something to eat, having to teach his disciples how to cook. And that was challenging also. So one day, a 12-year-old boy begged Srila Prabhupada, I want to cook your lunch for you. So he was a Gurukula student. He had some experience. So Prabhupada said, okay. But everything came out. The rice was burned. The dal beans weren't completely dissolved. The sabji was raw. Everything. The chapatis were like crackers. So the boy was very proud that I've cooked for Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, how was everything? Prabhupada said, oh, very nice. Everything, practically speaking, inedible. But he said, very nice, very nice. He was so accommodating to accept the service mood of any devotee. Another time, because when Srila Prabhupada would come to the temple, any temple, they'd make special arrangement to make sure everything was freshly painted. Prabhupada would say, everywhere I go, it smells like fresh paint. Because devotees are making every arrangement to make everything as perfect as possible to welcome him. So there was one couple, they were assigned the duty of making a tulsi skirt. They had no experience. So they struggled all night long to make one tulsi skirt. And in the morning when they showed it to the devotees, their handiwork, said, this is horrible. How can we offer that to tulsi? It's like a rag. You guys don't know how to sew. We can't offer this. It's horrible. But they put it on anyway. So Srila Prabhupada came into the temple room. He'd walk up to the altar, offer his obeisances, take charanamrita, and come back to the Vyasasan and sit down for class. And Tulsi Maharani sits right next to Vyasasan. So looking at the ragged Tulsi skirt, Prabhupada said in a very loud voice, who has made this beautiful Tulsi skirt? Who has made this beautiful Tulsi skirt? It wasn't beautiful at all, but their effort was very beautiful. And that was what Srila Prabhupada appreciated. The bhakti, the desire, the bhakti that went into making it. And this is the essence of everything we do. Krishna says in Gita, Patam Pushpam Palam Tam, Yome Bhaktya Parachati, Tadaham Bhakti Paritam. Twice bhakti is mentioned in this verse. Bhakti is everything. The consciousness with which we perform an activity. So Srila Prabhupada appreciated that, saying that these devotees struggled so hard. It's like a rag, but oh, who has made this beautiful Tulsi skirt? So devotees approached Srila Prabhupada once. They asked him that these are the BBT artists. They asked Srila Prabhupada to perfect our transcendental devotional art. We would like to take art classes, to go to a local uh, art school and perfect our craft of painting for BBT. Prabhupada said, no need, no need. You just do one thing. You go to the morning program, you go to the evening program, attend class, chant your japa, and Krishna will teach you. Dadami buddhi yogam tam, and see the result. Prabhupada said these beautiful paintings are windows into the spiritual world. And how did it come? By following Prabhupada's instructions and Dadami buddhi, that I give you the intelligence. Krishna gave all intelligence how to be a very productive artist, to present to the world these beautiful windows to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada is also a very expert manager. He wanted one devotee to become temple president. So he called the devotee into his room and said, Prabhu, I want you to become temple president. And the devotee said, no, Prabhupada, I'm not qualified. I mean, I'm also very busy in my service. No time. I'm not a manager. People won't respect me. No, I can't do that service. Prabhupada said, I want you to become temple president. Please take this service. The devotee was arguing with Prabhupada that I won't do it. I'm not qualified. But there's so many other devotees. They're much more qualified, Srila Prabhupada. You ask them to become temple president. Then Prabhupada said to him, all right, then take sannyas. If you don't want to become temple president, then take sannyas. The devotee was horrified. Said, Prabhupada, I'm newly married. My wife just had a baby. How can I take sannyas? This is impossible. I'll do anything, but I'm not going to take sannyas. Prabhupada said, you'll do anything? Then become temple president. Srila Prabhupada is very clever how he dealt with devotees to draw as much service as possible. And with that mood, imagine what the devotees that Srila Prabhupada had to work with. They're not like most of you who are born in Indian families and Vedic culture. Arati, Mandir, Mantra, Murti, Gita, Kirtan. These things are second nature to you. No one has to convince you that Lord Krishna is a Lord. Some philosophical misunderstandings are there, certainly. But it's in your Vedic culture is in your nature. Prabhupada took some uncultured persons who had no connection with Vedic culture and conquered the world. I have a godbrother. His name is Shivananda Prabhu. Shivananda Prabhu is very simple devotee. He's not a big kirtan leader, musician, charismatic person, speaker. Very simple devotee, simple, pure-hearted devotee. So he joined ISKCON in 1968. His godbrothers were there. His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj joined there also. They were all together in a temple that was a converted bowling alley. They made a bowling alley into a temple. So Srila Prabhupada was there, and he asked the devotees, I am very anxious to expand Krishna consciousness to Europe. I want to volunteer for someone to go and open a temple in Europe. Srila Prabhupada volunteered. Shivananda Prabhu volunteered. He'd been a devotee 6 months, maybe. What could he know of culture, of Shastra? And he was asked to go to Germany. He didn't even speak German language. But he went there, and Shivananda Prabhu was the first devotee to open a temple in all of Europe. Before Shyam Sundar, Gurudas, and Mukunda Prabhu and their wives opened up London and UK, Shivananda was in Hamburg, Germany, opening the first temple in all of Europe. How is it possible? Because he agreed to serve the order of his spiritual master. There's immense power. We should reflect on this. There's immense power in the order of the spiritual master. Krishna Shakti comes through the order of the spiritual master. Krishna Shakti, that power to preach Krishna consciousness, to manifest Krishna consciousness, to do impossible tasks, comes by accepting the order of the spiritual master. And Shivananda's success in Hamburg, Germany, opening the first temple in all of Europe, is proof of this. So maybe some of you have heard, there was one Baba. His name was Devara Baba, very famous. Some people said he was 250 years old. Some people said 400. Some people said he was 700 years old. He passed away recently. He died. He died of old age. Anyway, he was sought out by India's foremost industrialists, politicians, and Rajendra Prasad, Indira Gandhi. All big shot people came to seek his blessing and advice. So my godbrother Arjun Prabhu went there with another devotee. And Babaji lived on a hut on stilts on the bank of Ganga, I think. And no one could see him. He'd rarely even come down. Sometimes they'd get a glimpse, or maybe some well-known politician or influential person, they'd get darshan. But typically, he wouldn't come down to talk to anybody. But when Arjuna and this devotee, he looked out saw who was there. He came down from his hut and came up to these devotees and in Sanskrit language began to glorify the accomplishments of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada in spontaneous Sanskrit glorification of Srila Prabhupada. Because being blessed with some degree of omniscience, he could understand what Prabhupada was doing and how he was changing the face of the planet. Prabhupada was very thrifty, even penny pinching, we could say. One time he was walking in Mayapur, morning walk, and he stopped. He said, I am seeing, but you are not seeing. To what he's, what, Srila Prabhupada? He said, I am seeing, but you are not seeing. The devotees were confused. They couldn't understand what Prabhupada meant. Then he's pointing to a water fountain, water spigot that was dripping water. So even a few drops of water was of concern to Srila Prabhupada that it wouldn't be wasted. Another time, Srila Prabhupada was staying in our Boston temple. There's many floors to the temple, I think. And someone had left a light on downstairs. Srila Prabhupada was aware of it. He walked all the way down the stairs, several flights of stairs, to turn off the light and come back up. Why? Not to waste Krishna's energy. So one day the devotees purchased a first-class brass bucket, a bathroom bucket for washing clothes and bathing. And they left in Srila Prabhupada's bathroom. So next morning, Prabhupada came out, where is my plastic bucket? What have you, there's nothing wrong with plastic bucket. Why have you taken my plastic bucket? Bring my plastic bucket back and take this brass bucket. He thought, what does it need to spend more money to buy expensive brass bucket when the plastic bucket would do? It's very frugal, penny pinching to save the energy of Krishna. And you read in his transcendental diary, his diary, that he kept going across the Atlantic Ocean and the first weeks and months that he spent in New York City. He kept a ledger of expenses. You read, 10 cents bananas, 25 cents haldi, 50 cents rice. He's every single penny accounted for in Krishna's service. Srila Prabhupada, again, was also very, very clever in how he dealt with devotee controversies. He was in New Vrindavan, and the New Vrindavan devotees in the early days were led a very, very austere lifestyle. I also visited there in 1976, and breakfast meant oat water. We make oatmeal with maybe a cup of oats, 3 cups of water, and you get oatmeal cereal porridge. But they make oat water, like a cup of oats with 8 cups of water. You drink it, oat water and white rice, no masala, no sugar, no taste, just oat water and rice. And that was breakfast. And maybe lunch, you could get some little subject. They'd go out to the woods and pick sag from the woods and bring it back and cook that. They're leading very, very austere life all week long. But on Sunday, they make a big feast. Puri, halava, paneer sabji, pakora, chutney, lassi, gulab jamun. So devotees are going wild, eating gulab jamun. 6, 8, 10 gulab jamuns. So Kirtanananda Swami said, this is sense gratification. No more than 2 gulab jamuns for each devotee. No more. Other than that, it is sense gratification. It's impossible. You cannot do this. So devotees became very sad. No more gulab jamun feasting. So Srila Prabhupada was there and they took the issue to Prabhupada. Said, Srila Prabhupada, Kirtanananda Swami is saying we can't eat any more than 2 gulab jamuns at Sunday feast. We work hard all week long and only 2 gulab jamuns. Prabhupada said, you may eat as many gulab jamuns as you like. So devotees became very joyful. Oh, wonderful. But Kirtanananda Swami, he can only eat 2. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the last days of Srila Prabhupada's life, this gives us a glimpse into the internal life of Srila Prabhupada. In the last days of his life, when he was lying on his disappearance bed in his room in Vrindavan. He was moving slightly here and there and making some noise. And the devotees became very concerned. Srila Prabhupada, is there anything that we can get for you? Some problem? You need massage? You need something to drink? You need a fan? What is it that's disturbing you? What is it? No response. So devotees became very disturbed. How to make sure Srila Prabhupada's comfortable. They didn't know what was going on. So they called Srila Prabhupada's beloved godbrother, Srila Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. Babaji Maharaj took one look, and he said to them, you're seeing him lying on the bed, but in Goloka, he is embracing Krishna. And the manifestation of that meeting is manifest here in his body in the material world. So he's moving this way, that way, but because he's embracing Krishna, his Atma, his actual self is in Goloka, embracing Krishna, because how far is Goloka away? It's as far as you want it to be away. And it's as close as you want it to be also. So Srila Prabhupada said, Babaji Maharaj said, he is in Goloka being embraced by Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada first arrived in New York City, he was just maintaining his life by distributing his books. He said, I'm just selling a book here and there just to get eatables, just to get food to eat, selling a book here and there. So he was always looking for the opportunity to sell his books. So as he was walking in New York City, he passed by a storefront, and there was a big window, and inside that display window was an empty bookcase. So I thought, oh, perfect. I could display my books here. Always looking for a place, how to sell my books, fulfill the order of my spiritual master, distribute book, distribute book, distribute book. So we went inside, and the proprietor of the shop was very rude to him, an old lady. Was very rude to him. You want to put your books? No, 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 no. No, please get out of my store. Just get out. She was very rude to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said, but one thing, could you give an old man a glass of water? So the lady said, all right, fine. So she went and got Srila Prabhupada a glass of water. Then Srila Prabhupada said, may I sit down in this chair? All right, sit. So Prabhupada sat there for a few minutes, drinking a glass of water. And the woman, just by doing the smallest service for Srila Prabhupada, offering a glass of water and a place to sit, she had complete change of heart. She said to Srila Prabhupada, I was thinking, that bookcase is empty. You could put your books there. Please bring your books, and we can display them here in hopes that we can sell some for you. Complete change of heart by doing the smallest service for Srila Prabhupada. So this is the power of Vaishnava Seva. This is the surefire way, guaranteed way to attract the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to serve his beloved devotees, the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Srila Prabhupada had a life member who was highly placed in the Indian railway system. So he arranged a first-class opulent bogie for Srila Prabhupada and several of his Western sannyasis, and they're traveling across the country. It became known on the train that the famous guru, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who made the Westerners into devotees, who made the Westerners, the Malechas, chant Hare Krishna, he's on this train. So several of them ran back to get Srila Prabhupada's darshan. And they're falling all over him, trying to touch his feet. Oh, Swamiji, give your holy Ashirvad Koro, please, Srila Prabhupada, please bless us, please bless us. Srila Prabhupada became very grave, looking at these businessmen who had no idea what real blessing is. And he said in a very grave voice to them, and indicating, pointing to his Western sannyasis who renounced everything to preach Krishna consciousness, you want my blessing? This is my blessing. And the Indian business, oh, Swamiji, thank you, thank you, thank you. He immediately left. Because this is real blessing, to become Krishna conscious, to have the capacity to serve. People misunderstand. What is blessing of the Lord? Dhanam Janam Sundarim prosperity, material prosperity, health, wealth, fame, influence, position in the world, bank balance, apartment, home, car. These are blessings to be sure from one point of view, but they're not the real blessing because these blessings are all finished in due course of time. What is real blessing? To take up Krishna Bhakti. And this is the blessing that one fortunate soul can receive by the grace of his spiritual master. We should never forget this. Not some medical cure, not some wedding arrangement. Oh, Swamiji, please get my daughter married. I have this stomach ache. What can I take for my... This is not the business of the spiritual master. Please bless my son to graduate. These aren't blessings of Guru. Blessing of Guru is to become Krishna conscious. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadat nagati kutopi. This is a real blessing of spiritual master, is to become Krishna conscious. Take note. So as I was saying before, Srila Prabhupada would oftentimes exhibit omniscience. He could read the mind of his devotee. And there's several interesting examples of that. My godbrother Hari Vilas Prabhu was preaching in France, and Srila Prabhupada was in London. So he came to seek Srila Prabhupada's blessings before he went back to France. And in those days, there was no channel where you could drive a car underneath the English Channel. You had to take the ferry across the English Channel from, I can't remember the name of the town. Anyway, on the French side, Calais and Boulogne, from Dover. There are two ferries that left from Dover, one from Dover to Calais and one from Dover to Boulogne. So Srila Prabhupada was there. Hari Vilas Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, please, I'm going back to my preaching field. You please bless me. And Prabhupada casually asked him, which ferry are you taking? Are you going to Calais from Dover or to Boulogne? And Hari Vilas said, I have a ticket for Boulogne, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, no, you're not going to Boulogne. You will go to Calais. So Hari Vilas Prabhu was a little in an awkward position. He said, but I mean, I have my ticket right here, Srila Prabhupada. No, you're going to Calais. So okay, offered the businesses and left. And when he got to Dover, ready to use his ticket to get on the ferry, that ferry was closed and he was obliged to go to Calais. How did Prabhupada know? You tell me. Yeah, this power of omniscience. Another time, my god sister wanted to give Srila Prabhupada a first-class wool chadar. So she went to a very upper expensive store in Ashok Hotel where they sold all kinds of high-class clothing. And she purchased most expensive chadar for Srila Prabhupada. But thinking that Srila Prabhupada won't be pleased that I spent so much money, she removed the tag, thinking that if I remove this tag, Prabhupada won't know where I purchased it. So she brought it into Prabhupada's room, put it on Prabhupada's desk, offered a base and said, Srila Prabhupada, I bought you this thing, you please accept. Prabhupada glanced at it and said, oh, Ashok Hotel? How could he know? My godbrother Guru Kripa Prabhu, purchased a first-class Seiko watch. He was in Japan doing preaching in Japan and collecting money. He collected millions of dollars to build Mayapur, Vrindavan projects. Actually, there's another nice story about him. Very beloved devotee to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was coming off the plane. There's 100 devotees standing there, and he walks right up to Guru Kripa, who at the time was Bhakti Greg, and he embraced Bhakti Greg. They never met before. This is the first time he saw him, and he embraced him. He's very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. So Guru Kripa purchased a first-class Seiko watch, and he gave it to Prabhupada. The next morning, he looked at Prabhupada's wrist, and he's not wearing the watch. So he's very upset. He didn't say anything, but he's very upset in his heart. I took so much trouble and expense to get Prabhupada a nice watch, and he's not even wearing it. but he didn't say anything. So next morning he came for darshan. Prabhupada saw Guru Kripa and he lifted up his arm with wearing the watch. He said, "See, are you happy now?" He could understand exactly what Guru Kripa was thinking. When Srila Prabhupada was initiating devotees, would come up, they'd recite the 4 rules, how many rounds you chant, and your name is so-and-so. So, and I'll lump these all together. 5 different devotees had the same experience. What he was thinking, Madan Mohan. I hope Srila Prabhupada names me Madan Mohan, Madan Mohan. And Srila Prabhupada said, is there any devotee initiated by the name Madan Mohan? Oh, yes, Srila Prabhupada. Okay, then your name is Bharadraj. Bharadraj is the father of our Gauravani, who's a prominent Kirtaniya in our ISKCON society. So his father was initiated, Bharadraj, but he was thinking, I want the name Madan Mohan, Madan Mohan. Radha Kund. She was thinking, I want the name of Radharani, Radharani. So she was named Radha Kund. My godbrother, Bahulashva Prabhu. Bahulashva is the name of a king who had Bahu Ashwa, many, many horses. So when he received this name, he was very surprised because his whole family is absorbed in raising horses. From his childhood, he was riding horses and selling horses and transporting horses, horse business. He was named Bahulashva. How could Prabhupada know? Vrindavan Bilasini. She was thinking, I want the name of Vrindavan, Vrindavan, Vrindavan. Prabhupada named her Vrindavan Bilasini. Krishna, anyway, listen, Krishna Bhamini, Rukmini Priya, thinking, I want that because she was serving in Los Angeles, Rukmini Dwarkadish, I want the name of Rukmini. So she was named Rukmini. Prabhupada understood the mind of his devotees. Another time, Prabhupada was being greeted by all the devotees, and one garland after another was offered to Prabhupada. So one Mataji spent considerable amount of time making a beautiful garland for Srila Prabhupada. And as Srila Prabhupada took off all the garlands, she was heartbroken. Prabhupada's taking off the garland. He took off 1 garland, 2 garlands, 4 or 5 garlands. It's like up to his neck with garlands. So he took them all off. And she was feeling very devastated. Prabhupada's not wearing the garland I made. So he took them all off. Then he took that garland that she made and put it around his neck and smiled, understanding exactly the mind of his disciple. Another time, one devotee made, thinking that Srila Prabhupada will enjoy something and get some good nutritional value, he made halwa with wheat germ. I'm not sure if you know what wheat germ is. It is the nutritional part, the endosperm of a grain of wheat. People take it as a nutritional supplement. It's not very tasty at all, but it's full of vitamin value. So this devotee thought, let me make wheat germ halwa for Srila Prabhupada. That'd be very healthy preparation for him. He will enjoy it so much. So with all bhakti and all endeavor, he made wheat germ halwa for Srila Prabhupada. And he brought it into Srila Prabhupada, who tasted it and said, this is horrible. Please take it away. The devotee was heartbroken. I made this just to please Prabhupada. And he's in the other room, in front of the picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur praying, that I was just trying to please your servant, my Guru Maharaj, and he is not pleased. He's crying, his heart broken that I wasn't able to please my spiritual master. Prabhupada's voice came from the other room, please bring that halwa. They brought that halwa and he ate every scrap. Prabhupada understood exactly the heart of his devotee. Another time a devotee was watching Srila Prabhupada, who was singing Jai Radha Madhav. And he was thinking, if he's actually a pure young devotee, new recruit, he was thinking, if he's actually pure devotee, then why isn't he in ecstasy? Immediately when he thought that, Prabhupada's body began to tremble, singing Jai Radha Madhava. So omniscient, Prabhupada had as much omniscience as was required. Only Krishna is fully omniscient, but Prabhupada was omniscient up to the extent that Krishna allowed him to be. So back in 1971, after great endeavor, permission was finally granted for Srila Prabhupada to enter Russia. It was his heart's desire because millions of people, Russian people, and actually historically, if you study archaeological history of Russia, it was also a Krishna conscious country at one time. They find deities like Lakshmi Narayan, Lord Shiva, in ancient archaeological digs. So at one time, it was in ancient history, it was Krishna conscious. Prabhupada went there thinking, let this Krishna consciousness come to this huge country of millions of people. So finally, in 1971, he got permission. But Brahmananda Maharaj said to Prabhupada, they were in India, Prabhupada, how can you go now? This is mango season. It's mango season in India. You have to stay and enjoy mango in India. Prabhupada replied, take note. He said, preaching in the snow of Russia is sweeter than any mango. Preaching in the snow of Russia is sweeter than any mango. And see those pictures of Prabhupada alone walking the streets of Russia. And Krishna sent him one devotee, Ananta Shanti Prabhu, and Krishna consciousness has exploded from that. I was just in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, and Russian devotees are amazing. So it's like ISKCON in the 70s, so simple, so enthusiastic, so pure-hearted. And we're gathering, a small gathering, there's 350 devotees there. They have gathering next to the Black Sea, 7,000 people come. They have in Moscow, 10,000 people come. From one person, Prabhupada injected all Krishna consciousness in his mind and heart in 3 days. And these devotees suffered like anything before perestroika and glasnost, before Krishna consciousness became legal to be distributed, before books were outlawed. They were sent to prison. They were tortured. Some died in Russia for preaching Krishna consciousness. The Srila Prabhupada saw the potential, and now there's tens of thousands of devotees, maybe hundreds of thousands of devotees in Russia from one 3-day trip to Russia. So sweeter than any mango. Srila Prabhupada had an amazing sense of humor also. When my godbrother was getting initiated, I'm forgetting his name now. Anyway, he came in front of Prabhupada and he asked him, how many rounds you chant? He said, I will chant 16 rounds. And what are the rules? No gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating. Srila Prabhupada smiled at him and said, which one is your favorite? Nobody didn't know what to say. Which one is your favorite? He said about the British, because they, basically speaking, they raped India. They took everything. That's another story also. They have this arrogant attitude that the Indian people are the peasant people, the native people. They had their heads high and looking down on these supposed low. Who is actually low class? British are actually most low class. Mlecha people came to destroy Vedic culture. But they looked down, they held their heads high, looking down on them. Prabhupada said they took birth as a camel, because camel is holding his head high like this. So Prabhupada had nice sense of humor. So this is also a nice story. Srila Prabhupada was coming to UK, is in the London airport, and the media came to interview him. They pushed a microphone in his face and said, Swamiji, why have you come to our country? Prabhupada said, without missing a beat, he said, your country took everything from my country. You took wealth, you took jewels, you took deities, you drained our finance, you made us poor to make yourself rich. You took everything, but you forgot the most valuable thing. And I've come to bring it back to you. I've come to your country to deliver the thing that the most valuable thing that you didn't take. And what is that? Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada was always on top of everything. There's a wonderful story told by Radha Govinda Maharaj. He was born in a very pious devotee family, and he became attracted to the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he came to our temple in Vrindavan, and he was asking everyone, uh, I want to know about Lord Chaitanya. And finally, he met Prabhupada, but he didn't know it was Prabhupada. He thought he's just some old man. So he's asking Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked, why you want to know about Lord Chaitanya? And Radha Govinda Maharaj, then a new recruit, said, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada said, no, he's not. He is simply a preacher. He's a pious preacher trying to social reformer. And they begin to argue very heavily. Prabhupada's arguing that he's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Radha Govinda Maharaj is arguing, yes, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's quoting some Shastra also as a learned person. And finally, he became angry at Prabhupada and said, you be quiet, old man. Shouting at Prabhupada, you be quiet, old man. And Prabhupada started laughing. Then he understood, oh, this is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So it's a very funny story. You be quiet, old man. There's some nice stories, Prabhupada's radio interviews. The devotee set up an interview with one man who is famous for just roasting his guests on live broadcast. In the beginning, he'd come across before the broadcast in a very friendly way and catch them off guard. Then he'd get them online live, and he just roast them, make them as a fool. So they warned Prabhupada that this man has a habit of roasting in a very rude way, obnoxious, rude way, roasting his guests on live broadcasts. Prabhupada said, how many people listen to his program? Oh, hundreds of thousands. I'm going. So in spite of the warning, they went. And sure enough, the man was having a nice chat with Prabhupada about Vedic cosmology. And when he got him on the air, he said to Prabhupada, you mean to tell me the Hare Krishna people think the world is flat? You really think the world is flat? Prabhupada said in a matter-of-fact way. Well, of course, yes, it's flat. Everywhere I walk, it is flat. What can the man say? Another time being interviewed by a radio in Chicago, I think, in a very challenging, uh, rude way. She said to Srila Prabhupada, why do you people shave your head? Prabhupada said, why do you shave your legs? Better to have cool head and warm legs. So many stories. So we're out of time, I think. There's more stories that we can go on, or we can have questions or comments as you like.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for this wonderful nectar. How I really, again, it's hitting my head again, like, when Prabhupada says, like, preaching is in snow is much sweeter than eating the mangoes.
Yes,
That's a
such a wonderful quote.
yeah, beautiful quote. So before we go question and answer, give me a minute so I can make some announcement.
Okay.
So everyone can visit our website. So for all the information that we are having. So this, as we have Wednesday Sangha every Wednesday, we have very wonderful opportunity to hear today from His Grace Sarva-Drik Prabhu today. So on Glories of Srila Prabhupada. And in this, on this coming Sunday, we have His Grace Tukaram Prabhu. He is coming from Bhubaneswar Temple. He's the Vice President over there. So please do not miss our this in-person program. So as usual, our program starts from 4:30. So please join that. Do not miss this Sunday. And we have weekly Bhakti Vrikshas in our local areas. Please connect us. It's a very lively, homely program with Kirtan, Prashadam. It's a really wonderful association. We can get to know more closer. There's a very beautiful association. You can get it. So also we have Monday to Friday, we have Bhagavad Gita reading from 12 p.m. to 12:15. Also get an opportunity, devotees read the verses and go through translations. So you can get that opportunity to read, take some break. And every morning we have chanting. You can join the chapel and do some chanting anytime you can join between 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. And also you can view all the ISKCON calendar, all our Vaishnav events and everything you can see over here, all the Kadasi and everything, all the festivals you can see that is coming. Like for example, today is Shamananda Prabhu's Disappearance Day, where you can get, you can also subscribe to the calendar. If somebody needs us, you can definitely can let us know. You get notification on the phone for all the events. So with that, I'll go on to question answer. Anybody has any questions and answer? Any questions? Sorry, question and comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, all glories Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Vaman Seva Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. A lovely lecture, Prabhu. Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, from childhood, if you're born in a nice Vaishnava or a Hindu family in India, and they always say that if you are struggling or you have times where you don't know the correct direction in the material world, um, we've always advised that try to go to a temple. And to be very honest, 1992 was a time when I needed the Denver temple, and glad I met you. But moving forward, today, we have so many beautiful temples and everything. If Srila Prabhupada himself physically would have been there, what do you think he would be feeling about the whole movement and the way it is going? Uh,
I mean, how it is transformed, what it is
yeah,
today compared to what it was.
yeah. Overall.
I mean, more or less, things are going on. I think we could, as a society, we could be more adherent to the core values of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, Harinam Sankirtan. I think we've been deviated to some extent with Vedic sacrifice. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't come to teach Swaha Swaha. He came to teach Haribol Haribol. He didn't come to teach deity worship. We worship the deity as an anga of Harinam Sankirtan. We observe Vedic sacrifice also for initiations, for Griha Pravesh, for weddings. It's also Gopal Bhatta's rites in Hari Bhakti Vilas. It has its place, but the essence of our movement is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord and the propagation of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And we should not forget that. But as things evolve also naturally, Varnashram becomes more important because when we talk about devotee, there's many different kinds of devotees. There's devotees that take to spiritual life like a duck takes to water. 4 rules, no problem. I'm practicing that anyway. Bhagavad Gita, I've been reading Bhagavad Gita since I was 10. Many people immediately take to Krishna consciousness. Other people struggle. Their whole life they may struggle. We welcome everyone. Even someone is addicted to some horrible, even they're eating meat. Okay, you can't stop, but come to our temple and chant with it. We're not going to put you on the altar. But how will you become better if you don't come associate with devotees? Krishna consciousness should embrace all walks of life, all classes of individuals, and anyone who's chanting the holy name should be respected as a devotee, regardless of what residual bad habit may still exist in their life. We should embrace everyone and honor those persons who are actually towing the line, who are showing the example of Krishna Bhakti. And this is what Prabhupada talked about. He said, Varnashram Dharma is half of my mission. He said some very heavy things. He said, you don't even come to human life without Varnashram Dharma. What does Varnashram Dharma mean? Following rules and regulations according to Varna and your ashram. Everybody wants to be a Brahmin, all right? Samodama tapasocham kantir ajam vivajam jnana vijnanam astikyam brahma karma sabha. But do you have the quality of a Brahmin? If you don't, you're not a Brahmin. And are you working as a Brahmin? Patan yajan dana pratigraha. Do you have the karma, the guna and the karma of a Brahmin? If you call yourself a Brahmin, there's rules by which you're bound in society that you're expected to adhere to. Not everyone's a Brahmin by name. I got a sacred thread, now I'm a Brahmin. You're a Vaishnava. The sacred thread is a sign that you become a Vaishnava, not a Brahmin. So we have many things to understand about the mission of Srila Prabhupada and how he expected it to expand, but this is a very big topic. Those things come to mind. I hope that is helpful to you. Thank you for your nice question.
No, absolutely, Prabhu. Thank you.
You go, Ramchandra Prabhu. Kindly go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai, accept mine, Ramchandra Prabhu ki jai. I was so happy to meet you in Mayapur.
Yes, likewise, likewise. It was so wonderful to hear all the different pastimes that you just shared. Story after story after story. It was heartwarming. It was always nice to hear Prabhupada stories. So thank you very
Yeah.
much. You initially mentioned this is a part of a 3-part seminar. Is that correct?
Yeah, because there's all Leela is just one part. Leela is, what is your relationship with Prabhupada, Prabhupada Mahima, all different sections are there. It can be done.
I was wondering if you would be able to do the other 2 sections also in the coming
As
week.
you like, always at your service, Prabhu.
I just also want to share my personal realization that when it's one thing to hear lectures, but another to implement. And without lecturing, when we met for a few minutes in Mayapur, as you were leaving, I very well, it's engraved in my heart now. As you were leaving, and I was going to pay you obeisances, and you went down and paid obeisances, and I said, no, Prabhuji, please do not. And one statement that you made changed, my enhanced my understanding of what Prabhupada's mood was through you, which was you said, no, I have to pay obeisances because you're serving my Guru Maharaj and you're helping my Guru Maharaj spread the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I never thought about it that way. And when you said that, it was, it taught me that tomorrow others also who are juniors to us, a similar thing that you're helping us spread the mission of. So we pass on the baton and say, okay, thank you very much for carrying on. And it's so true that, without that humility, Krishna's heart cannot be won. So thank you very much for teaching me that and through your actions.
I'll tell you a personal story. I was giving class over here at Saki Nivas. They have a nice evening program on Saturday evening. They all gather, like 25, 30 devotees. So I asked everybody, all devotees who are disciples of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, please raise your hand. So a bunch of devotees raise their hand. And His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, a bunch of devotees raise their hand. His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj, some devotees raise their hand. Srila Prabhupada, nobody raised their hand. Said, you don't think you're a disciple of Srila Prabhupada? You're not thinking very deeply. Srila Prabhupada said that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur sent all of us to him. So my question to you is, who sent you to your Guru Maharaj? The answer is Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada sent you to assist your Guru Maharaj in spreading Krishna consciousness. You're all blessed by Prabhupada in every way. And we're all family in every way. Srila Prabhupada is our Siksha Guru, the preeminent Siksha Guru of every ISKCON devotee for generations. Every year I go to this wonderful Ujjain festival. At that festival, there's my godbrothers, disciples, and disciples of my godbrothers. Disciples, grand disciples, and great-grand disciples, and everyone is in ecstasy celebrating the family of Srila Prabhupada. So from that point of view, there's an etiquette. Okay, you're older devotee, you're initiated earlier. There's an etiquette to be observed, no problem. But we're all family members, senior family members and junior family members, but one family at the lotus feet of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I am always very happy to offer my best, especially to senior members like you, Prabhu, who've done so much for spreading Krishna consciousness, sacrificed your life to serve Srila Prabhupada. I'm a fool. I'm an arrogant fool if I can't bend down to such a great soul that gave their life to serving my Guru. So we're Prabhupada's family.
Very true, Prabhuji. I'm just learning, and I tell devotees when they come also, sometimes they say, I'm not able to be steady in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes I'm enthusiastic, sometimes I'm not in devotional service. And I said, that's because you have not developed that love for Prabhupada. Because if you had, then how could you sleep? How could you not keep serving despite whatever faults and whatever negatives or anything that you come across? You would just keep marching on if you had that love for Prabhupada. So that is one thing I see that can easily be rectified, and if we don't have that attachment and love and understand who Prabhupada was, then one would easily fade away.
Yeah, well, that steadiness and love is a process. It's not a destination. It's a process. We start out with nothing, and by the mercy of God and Guru, we make progress. And someone's a little progress further down the path, and someone's less. But it's not a destination. Oh, I've arrived. Now I'm steady. Then then Maya's went, oh, are you? Are you really steady? Let us see how steady you are. So Krishna Bhakti is a process. We're sadhakas coming, tamasi ma jyotir gamayo. We're coming from darkness to light. The full-blown light means Chaktva deham pranarjanma. We leave this world and go back to Godhead. This is a full manifestation of the fruit of our sacrifice that comes at the end of life. Anyway, that's another discussion. But nice realization, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm encouraging devotees also in Bergen to visit Mayapur, meet with Prabhu, and also Mayapur is the headquarters. This is where it all began. So we should make it our goal to soon visit Mayapur Dham, take the blessings of the Pancha Tattva there. Prabhuji, if you want to add anything for Mayapur Dham's importance. And
the Shastras say that Krishna consciousness will spread all over the world from Mayapur Dham. And you're thinking, oh, Sarva is in Mayapur. This is Lord's Janmastan. Mayapur is his Janmastan. But where you are in New Jersey is his Karmastan. More important, Karmastan, where the work of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going on. So please reflect on that also. It's not that just someone's living in Mayapur. Someone can be living in Mayapur, just eating, sleeping, and using the bathroom. There's value in that, certainly. They say just going to sleep in Mayapur is as good as offering obeisance as any other holy place. So I'm not minimizing the glories of Mayapur, but the real glory of Mayapur is in the spreading of Krishna consciousness that emanates from Mayapur Dham. When we take the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Gauravani Pracharine, and we preach Gauravani to every town and village, this is the mercy of Mayapur Dham, and you're all doing that. So my obeisance is to all of you.
Anybody else has any questions?
Okay, I should go. I have some
Okay.
devotees coming over at 9 o'clock, and still I have to
Sure,
offer RT. It's
No
been a
problem.
bit.
Thank you so much again, Prabhu, for your wonderful association. So everyone can unmute and thank Prabhuji with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
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 Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha
Thank you,
kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha
Mhm.
patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namo. Nanda Gauri Vaishnavita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.